Sweet.
Booyakasha.
Yeah.
We're off and running.
Yes, we are.
How we doing?
I'm doing really good, Ryan. How are you doing?
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I can't believe it's New Year's Eve tomorrow.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. And the year has gone by. It seems like this time of year seems like to really slow down for some reason, but this year has gone by super fast.
Yes. I feel like I say that every year, though.
Yeah, I know, right?
When are we going to learn to live more in the present?
Yeah. Hey, we're talking about 2020, right? That's what we're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I'm the type that kind of like gets inspired in the present, as you were just talking about.
Okay.
So what were some of your highlights of 2019? What were your wins?
Wins in 2019. I would say one of my big wins going into 2020 would be the distinction that I was able to figure out with the podcast and the route that I'm looking to go in the future with working one-on-one with men.
Heck yeah.
Because I was going through through the evolution of the podcast and everything.
Sure.
It's, how it's changed, like the name has changed, and I feel like the communication style has changed a little bit and everything, but as that's evolved, it's kind of like shown me a little bit of what I want to do, and that's work with people. And I've been wanting to do that for a very long time, and I think a good way for me to get into that space was the podcast, because I got to talk to a lot of different people.
Right.
And hear a lot of different experiences, and I'm just sitting here like, man, there's a lot that we have in common, and there's a lot of similar things that we're all looking for. And I believe that I can help people with that when it comes to just being more present, like the thing that we're talking about, understanding who you are as an individual and how you want to carry yourself around other people. It's something I believe that I have a purpose in. And my big win, I feel like, was understanding that was not on the same wavelength as dive into discussion, and that I need to branch that out and make it something different. So that was a big realization for me, because I was getting myself stuck.
Sure. Clarity's power, getting clear on your vision. And that's the podcast, right? Where your new Instagram, right? With all the little, pictures of you with the different, okay. Right. And then what's the official name again of it?
It's just the Ryan Maley podcast.
That's right.
And it's, it's not something that I've been really like super promoting right now, because I've learned from my podcast, the Dive Into Discussion podcast, that you got to do it to understand where your voice is going to be. So sure. I'm putting out daily podcasts right now, just finding my voice for that type of pursuit.
Yeah.
And, I'm not looking to rush anything. I'm not looking to force anything going forward. I know that I can help people right now. But again, I need to get a little bit more clear on a couple things. It's a work in progress. It's developing. So, that's why I haven't gone like all gung ho on promoting that right now. So it's more along the lines of gauging where I'm at with it.
Totally. Well, I was driving earlier today after we texted and just decided to do this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something I really like about myself, and I like about you, and people who are just doing things, are creating their own reality. And it's that just do it. Let's do it. And I was like, damn, Ryan manifests faster than I do. I manifest really quickly. And like, you know, for you to be like, yeah, what are you doing today? Like, let's shoot it. I was like, so, you know, when it comes to like goals for 2020, I think a lot of the time it's like mindset and attitude that's driving everything that you want to do. And I mean, really, no goals in my life have mattered or I have not seen them through until I got clear on my mindset and my attitude about things. Yeah. And it's when I got clear on that, and it's like, who's in control of my emotions? This person, right here. You know,
around like,
who's in control?
Somebody give me some fucking answers here. Like, I don't know.
Right. And like, who's in control of my destiny? And like, you know, of course it takes patience and time. And there's two things that I learned, that self-doubt and fear are inevitable when you're trying to do these kinds of things, whether you're, you know, I do podcasts, I do YouTube. It's been a good year. I definitely want to, like, my plans going into 2020, consistency, figuring out this algorithm thing on YouTube that I don't know a lot about. I can openly admit that and know that I want to be a student of it and just, you know, empower myself in that skill, because it's totally a skill. It's like these things that I'm like, oh, I don't know yet. Well, I guess we'll have to talk about that since you're going to be new to YouTube here in a second.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, we can definitely help each other out with this shit. Because when I first started doing the YouTube thing, even setting up the YouTube channel alone,
sure,
I was like, oh, this is going to be like super simple to do, having never done it before. And then I'm like, wait, I got to do a different email and profile pic, and this goes with Gmail, and this goes with YouTube, and this is Google. What's happening?
I know. And you got to do your banner. You gotta do it. It's
and the artwork has got to be the right size, and, and you got to, you know, if you want to do a live, you got to set this thing up like beforehand.
I'm not there yet.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's a learning curve, but I realized I hadn't been doing it because I had been letting myself stay scared. I had been letting myself just be like, ooh, it's the unknown. It's this other thing that if I start to go towards, I'm gonna fuck something else up. So like, totally. And also I was trying to figure out what I wanted to put on there, and I think, you know, what I had said before we started recording this was I'm starting to do this new thing now to where if I feel like I'm stuck on something, or I feel like I don't know what to do, I try to take myself out of the equation and then go, hey, if you were in charge of you, what would you tell you to do? And
that's a good one.
That has started to switch a lot of shit around, because I know more than what I give myself credit for sometimes.
Ooh, I like that. Heck yeah.
And I've found that out just by doing it.
Right.
Just by clicking around, just by Googling questions that I don't have the answers to. It's, yeah.
Yeah, and so to me, like, when people talk about manifestation, like, that to me is like how you manifest. Like, if you don't know something, you go and find out the answer. If there's something you want to do, how are you going to do it? It's like translating, you know, it's basically like translating your thoughts into behavior, right? Which is super basic psychology, but you brought up a really good point, which at one point I had a ton of fear around YouTube and really being seen.
Yeah.
You know, I had, you know, and I remember when I started the podcast, officially 2 years, right? I don't know, 2 or 3 years. I remember in the beginning, there was a lot of blocks around being heard and using my voice, but I eventually, like, I got over that, or I worked through it. Yes. I gained experience. I began to embody a new habit. And then when I started the YouTube in February of last year, I really came up with every excuse in the book. And I won't lie, I think sometimes I still do, but I've shared with you my new plan, which is working rather well so far. There's some kinks, but and then, you know, I forget who I was watching, but they talked about visibility blocks and like that being a block to YouTube. And I noticed like at some point I had no problem sitting behind a podcast where no one can see you or like see your facial expressions or anything like that. And I was quite comfortable there. But then honestly, you know, I was like, you know, there's people that I really enjoy, like Ralph Smart and Teal Swan and Feel Good Life and all these like spiritual entrepreneurs that I've been watching for years. And I'm like, yeah, this is so cool. Look, people can make a living just doing what they love to do, because that's what it's all about, right? And so I just remember being like, I think it was on my birthday of I guess it's still this year, but it's
only for a couple more days. We're good.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa, so much growth since then. And
no.
I was like, I'm gonna do this. This is my present to myself that I'm gonna like do what I say. And actually, once you dive into the creative process, it's quite fun. It's quite fun. The amount of growth I've experienced within the last year has been great, because honestly, I expected nothing. So to get the amount of views I got and to get the amount of subscribers, the mindset that I have is like, I'm on the 10-year track. Like I understand that growth and expansion simply just takes time. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You know, there's ways to hack it, sure, but you know, so that's definitely a goal of mine too. And in 2020 is bumping up to YouTube. And I'm not expecting any miracles, though. I told myself that. But am I willing to put in the consistency and the work and the amount of information and data that is required? Sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was sharing with you, I do a routine now where, and I might change it after looking at today, but I'll take one day and I shoot 7 videos and then I release them every single day. And that's been working pretty good. I kind of want to start shooting 14 videos in one sit to like condense my time, but I don't know. It's always realistic, right? Just playing with things, and if something's not working out, then you're able to change it. So yeah.
But that's a good goal. Are you thinking 14 to release 2 a day, or 1 for a day?
The whole point of that would be just to like shoot 14 and still release.
Yeah.
You know, each day, but I would only have to film 2 days a month instead of 4 days a month.
That would be huge.
Right.
Yeah. Because once you get that, like
routine.
Yeah, I thought that was very, very interesting what you said, because I've felt that too with the podcast versus YouTube type thing. Like I've always been very comfortable with putting my voice out there.
Right.
You know, but then when it came to the YouTube stuff, I'm like, what the hell do I do with this? Like, and I'm like, well, something.
Right.
Gotta try something.
Right.
Gotta do something with it. Because while I've gotten better at that type of stuff over the last couple of years, God, I remember when I first did like my first live on Facebook, and I like legit was sitting there being like, "Ooh, okay, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?" Like I'm getting ready for some monumental event that is going to change the course of my life. And I'm just sitting there like, oh man, looking at where I was then versus where I am now, where I'll get to a point where I go to do a live. And if I start to think some sort of way about it, being like, what do I want to say? Like as soon as I have that thought, I just hit the go live button.
Right.
I'm like forcing myself
Right.
do it because I'm like, what is the worst that's going to happen? You look like an idiot, and I'm like, I don't care.
Exactly. Yeah, you had mentioned that, and I don't know. I think in our previous podcast that we had just done about not caring about what other people think, and I think that's really important when you're going through this process. And it's not like it's like you want to be of service, right? I want to be of service. I want to give people that like information that's helpful and that's gonna especially in terms of ayahuasca, that's one of my areas of expertise, and I like to help to educate people, and especially in regards to like trauma and healing and recovery. And so, yeah, I want to give people tools that are going to help them, but I can't get so up in my head that's going to block me from being authentic, you know? So I totally know what you mean when it comes to like, and it's so funny you mentioned that too. I can still remember the first time I did a live, and I just did one today right before our phone call. You know, I was like, cool, that gives me time to go on and do a live. But it
was so different. It feels so different.
It's so different. And the password was like, oh. But you know what? I think it's important for whoever's seeing this is like everyone goes through that.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through that. It's totally human. It's totally okay. You just got to get in there and do it. Because, you know, 2 years from now, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, you're always going to be like, oh, like, look, we're laughing about it now. That's great. I mean, I know when you're going through it, it sucks. But it's like almost like an initiation. Just look at it that way, you know, just go initiation.
Yeah. It's like, I think I had this irrational thought that like all the eyes in the world from Facebook were on me as soon as I hit the live button. And I'm just like, that first live, I don't think anybody viewed while it was going on. And it was like 2 likes or something like that. And I'm just sitting there like, man, I'm glad I made it through that. Like, what did I think was going to happen? But it is good to be able to laugh about it now, but it's also good it shows me, it might be a little thing, but it shows me that as long as you try something and you continue to do something, you get more comfortable with it.
Correct.
So it's either going to be something that helps you or something that hurts you, regardless of what that is, because sitting around watching TV for the last 5 hours of your day is still doing something. But for me, at that point in my life when I was doing that, it wasn't serving me. It wasn't getting me closer to the person that I was ultimately wanting to be.
Right. Yeah, that makes me think of choice. And I used to do the same thing. And to be super transparent, I didn't have a second thought about it. I had no regrets of watching hours of TV. Yeah. You know? But eventually, you know, I started to take a look at my life and, you know, being introduced to my own healing in 2015 and getting into the medicine and just like, you know, and once you, for me in my past, like once you've been, you know, awakened to certain things, you just want to naturally share them with other people. It just becomes this incredible synergy. It's like I've been given these gifts of like knowledge, and we all have the ability to eat that cereal, right? And so I just want to share cereal with people. And rather than, you know, I mean, I guess I could, I guess I do plan on watching some TV tonight. There's a new series by Joe Dispenza we want to get into, but I'm conscious.
TV is inherently bad. But if you spend every single night with the last 5 hours of your day watching TV, I think that's bad. I think that's bad for you mentally.
Right, totally.
Physically and spiritually and emotionally.
Right. It was great while I was numbing out though, so just...
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, when I don't want to come to terms with what's going on in my life, there's TV is there, and I think it helps. It does help from time to time when there are it feels like there's too much shit going on.
Correct.
To handle, and you're just like, well, I want to numb out for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, anything can be poison, anything can be medicine. It's like the intention, the amount, all this stuff. Um, but yeah, so yeah, the choice. I was trying to like, where are we going with this? But this is Ryan and I. This is our usual digression in the middle of a conversation. So, but yeah, the choice to change. And for me, this past year has really been about, you know, it hasn't just been choice to change for myself, but really being mindful and choosy, so to speak, of like who I'm allowing into my life. What are situations that I'm walking away from? You know, listening to that uh, internal intuition, building up these healthy internal mental and emotional boundaries for myself. All the internal work, like I said, attitude and mindset that's behind all the amazing things that I want to manifest. And if I know for me, if those things aren't in place, if I didn't do that internal work, I'm sure I would have still done a good job, you know? How do you explain it? It doesn't translate the same. Like once you get clear on who you are and what you want, and like the 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 line between thought and behavior becomes like it's like an invisible veil all of a sudden. It's like, oh, okay, so I just need to do X, Y, and Z. There it is. It's like it's you know, it just becomes so much more clear. I think in the past when I was basically whew, sifting through so much stuff, which is okay because from a spiritual perspective, it's happening for me, not to me. But once I was able to, you know, work my way through all of it, and I'm still working through it. You know, I sit here, but just being able to get more clarity on some things.
Yeah, clarity's a big one. The motherfucker about clarity, though, is when you first start to get it, it just opens up a bunch of other things that then take away the clarity that you thought you had, because you got to get clear on the residual shit that the clarity showed you. And that's why it's never ending. That's why this work is never ending. And I definitely have gone through some frustrating times with this type of work. And I'll continue to, but I know to expect it now. I know that it's going to happen. I'm not sitting there waiting for it, but I know what it kind of feels like when it comes up for me. And it's interesting that you said that you started your journey in 2015, because like that was the year that my dad passed, and I feel like that's when a big switch started to happen for me too. There was a lot of change for me in 2015.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what really started to skyrocket the work, the mental work, the spiritual work that I was going through. And it's been a hell of a journey up to this point, and I know it's going to continue to be one, and I'm glad that I'm at a place that I am now.
Yeah.
You know, that's looking back at some of the stuff that I've uncovered about my past that I feel better about just to my soul now is
nice.
It's been life-changing.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah.
I was just going to say, as we start to get this thing wrapped up, what was...
Oh, God. Are we wrapping up already? I'm so used to our 2-hour podcast.
I know, right? I'm like, I gotta have to, because I don't know that the video will upload to
totally okay.
a normal chat.
Yeah. As we begin to wrap it up here, yes, good job. Keep going.
I was wondering if you could share an answer to the same question that you asked me. It was like, what's a win that you had in 2019?
You know, yeah, just like learning how to like command my own energy. Like learning how to like, and it really has come down to it, like expressing myself, setting boundaries, basically not being afraid of like other people. That's been a huge thing in a lot of different ways, like anticipating the external world, and I'm like, ugh, that is life sucking, and really operating from an internal place, like what do I want? You know, not from a place of selfishness, but really for me, you know, a lot of my early childhood experiences were constantly anticipating some sort of environmental construct. And it's like, as an adult, really just like cutting the cord with that and being like, no, I harness my power internally and I imprint my consciousness onto the world, not the other way around. Bye, Felicia. Let's just wave that back. And yeah, so I would say that would be my big win in 2019. I feel like, you know, it's really prepared me for all the things that I want to do in 2020. So,
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Right, we'll have to have another short chat soon.
Yeah.
Do an update.
How long has this one been? I don't even know. It's probably been close to 20 minutes so far. I can't really tell.
Great, that's good. Short, like Nike, just do it.
Just
That's the other, I would say, can I add another one? That would be the other one. The biggest win is like, just do it. Like I've done a lot of things, like I've done a lot of community organization around ayahuasca. I've done the YouTube, the podcast, like just, you know, stop thinking about it. Just do it. And by doing, you gain experience, and that is priceless and irreplaceable.
Yeah. Because I noticed when I am the most frustrated, when I am the most foggy, when I am the most unsure about what I'm doing in my life, it is because I'm not getting out of my head. Yep. It is because I'm going, you should do this, and then do this, and then do that, and then write this, and then reach out to this person, and then send that email, and it was happening to where that I had gone through phases where that was the trend that was happening. And I'd get to the end of the day, and I'd feel exhausted. I'd feel tired. Right. I'd feel like, oh my God, what did I do? And then I'd look back and I'd be like, I didn't do shit except for worry and speculate and daydream. Like, oh. Right. So that was, you know, something that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The word speculate. I really like that word. What'd you do today? I speculated. Speculated the entire day.
Oh, yeah.
What did you do?
What did you do all day? And you just sit there and you're like, that.
Right.
I did that. And I think it's good to have days where you just think, where you're just in your head, where you're analyzing, where you're doing an audit. Like you need those moments, but you can't live there. You got to get out. You got to get into your body sometimes. You got to get into your spirit. You got to get into your emotions. You got to get outdoors. Just being in your head all the time is going to lead you to a place of frustration.
Right. Okay. This has been good. How do we want to wrap this up?
Yeah. When you think of a word for, if you can you? Let me ask this: if you could think of a word for 2020, what comes to mind?
Manifestation.
Ooh.
Manifestation. Yeah. I would say, yeah, last year was about transformation, but this year is about just like, manifestation. What about you? I could add another one, but we won't digress. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah.
What?
Movement.
Yes,
That's something that has been coming up for me.
I like that.
Because I've talked to you plenty about the issues that I've had with my the muscles in my body knotting up so much, and all the stuff that I've learned about how my body is supposed to move,
Right.
and I don't have to feel like shit all the time. It's not just part of getting older, it's part of moving optimally.
Right.
So it's like movement from that standpoint, movement with the pursuits that I'm doing with both podcasts, and getting more of it, getting more content out there. Yeah, just movement in all areas, because I look at even like the past year, the past decade as just the change. I look at that as change. I'm not looking at this as movement, because I've learned a lot in the last couple of years. I've learned a ton in the last 10, and now I got to move.
Yep. Absolutely. Awesome. Well,
So
thank
yeah.
you, Ryan, for having me on your YouTube channel. I'm very excited for your growth.
You're welcome. Thank you for helping out with it, and
Anytime.
I'm sure you'll be a recurring guest on my chatting with series that is looking like it's starting to take shape. So
Awesome.
yeah, thanks for hopping on here, and 2020, here we come.
Holler. Here we come, like in 2 days.
All right. Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.